and welcome to my week of decluttering. This week we are decluttering all of my makeup collection one day at a time. Yesterday you saw me declutter my foundations, concealers, primers, and powders. If you missed that video, I will link it down below. Today we are decluttering blushes, bronzers, highlighters, and face palettes. Let me throw a couple disclaimers out there just in case you didn't watch the last video. Any makeup that I declutter today, I am either going to be throwing out if it is expired, giving to friends and family if I think it's something they would be interested in, or if it's something I received for free, or it'll be listed on my Poshmark if it's something I bought myself and is still in good condition, or might be donated. So I already have a handful of things that I'm going to be doing with these products. If you see something that you like, you can check my Poshmark. It will be linked down below for your convenience, but I wanted to throw that out there. Also, I don't know how I'm going to do today. I could be keeping a lot. I could be decluttering a lot. My goal isn't to declutter a bunch of stuff. I do have videos like that though up on my channel where I decluttered a lot, but I've catered my collection decently well in the last year, so there's not a whole lot of excess stuff, but I guess we'll see how I do. My goal is to just get rid of things that I don't like, don't use, and don't want cluttering up my collection. We are gonna go ahead and start with blushes, so let's get started. Alright, so here are all of the blushes that I have in my collection. Let's go ahead and pull out the things that I know I want to keep. The first thing I know I want to keep is the Ciate London blush in the shade In Too Deep. It's this really, really pretty purpley ivory blush that's beautiful on the cheeks. It offers a shimmer, so if you don't like blushes with shimmer in it, you wouldn't like this, but I love this. Next, I'm going to keep my Hourglass blush. This is in the shade Mood Exposure. It's this perfect peachy pink shade, really, really easy to apply on the cheeks and offers just such a beautiful glow. I'm also going to keep this Tarte blush. It's in the shade Party. This is also a really nice blush for the cheeks to offer just a subtle flush of color. It's almost just a very neutral tone, as you can see, especially on me particularly. Again, this is in the shade Party. Really, really like this. First thing I know I'm going to declutter is this NARS Duo. I had this in my project pan last year. It has half a pan of the shade Orgasm left in it. I don't really like that shade. I used it half up last year because it was in my project pan, but then I just stopped using it because I didn't like it anymore, and I'm not going to keep something around that I don't like. So we're going to go ahead and get rid of this. Alright, something else I'm going to keep is this Milani blush. This is in the shade Romantic Rose. I actually really, really like this. As you can see, I've worn away a decent amount of the imprint at the top. Really like this, and Milani is drugstore and cruelty-free, so let's go ahead and show them some support. One that I'm going to declutter is this Sigma blush. This blush is so old. This is one of the first things that I brought into my collection when I started getting into makeup. It's in the shade Serene. It used to be my favorite, but it's really lost so much luster over time, and I have other blushes like this color, this really nice peachy color. So I have other blushes that I like way more than this. I think this is expired and no good, and as you can see, like, it's starting to rub off on the top, so I don't need to keep this. It's served its purpose in my collection and it can go bye-bye. Speaking of peachy blushes, this MAC blush right here in the shade Warm Soul. Ooh, man, I just wish MAC was cruelty-free because they have got some good products, including this one right here. I am going to keep this one because I think it's really unique in my collection. It's this really beautiful shimmery peachy color and I really love this, so I am going to hold on to this. I don't have something else like this in my collection. It is from MAC though, not cruelty-free, which is very unfortunate, but I am gonna go ahead and hold on to it. Let's see. Okay, so these Bare Minerals loose powders, I really like these. Nobody talks about these on YouTube, but I really enjoy these. This first one right here is in the shade Strawberry Cream. Here is what it looks like. Typically the way I use this is I use a stippling brush and I swirl it around in the cap because there's always powder in there, and then I apply it to the cheeks. It's just so pretty. I love it. So I'm definitely gonna hold on to this one, and I think I'm also gonna hold on to this little mini size, which is in the shade Golden Gate. It's definitely more of a warm neutral shade as opposed to the more pinky shade that Strawberry Cream, this one right here, is. But I'm gonna hold on to both of these because I really truly like both of them. Alright, so these last two non-cruelty-free buggers. Let's see. Let's move on to this one first. This is the MAC blush in the shade Desert Rose. Now, I like this, but I kind of feel like I have a lot of shades like this in my collection. I also think that the Milani color is very, very similar to this one, and I almost like the Milani one better. So I feel like I could potentially sell this on Poshmark because there's still, it hardly even looks used. I've used it, but like not a ton. There's not even a dent in it, and I paid, you know, a pretty decent amount for this. I could potentially recover some money for it, and it's still a good product, but it's definitely going to get passed on because there are just so many other ones in my collection right now. I don't need to hold on to this one. Last, certainly not least, is the NARS blush in the shade Glue. I have no idea how to say that. I'm gonna go ahead and hold on to this. I do really like this blush. I think it's really, really pretty. It's a very pretty deep shade. I wish NARS would go back to cruelty free, but it doesn't look like they are anytime soon. But I do really like this blush, and I feel like it's decently unique to my collection, so I don't feel bad keeping it. So we're gonna go ahead and keep it. All right, that's 3 products that we are decluttering. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 that we are holding on to. That's really not so bad. I don't feel like 8 blushes is all that terrible. I feel pretty okay about it. I feel like that's not so bad. I was able to declutter some things. All right. Here are my bronzers. This is literally all I have. This is my bronzer collection. We got a whopping 3 in here. Okay, so first of all, this MAC bronzer is in my project pan, so we are gonna hold on to this one. This one will definitely be done by the end of the year. This Too Faced one, I'm also going to keep. There's no pan in it. It's actually been quite a while since I've used it, but I do really like this one, and I like the smell of it also. This one, however, this is the Physicians Formula Butter Bronzer. I did include this in a project pan, or several project pans, last year and maybe even the year before that. I've used it quite a bit, and I gotta be honest, I don't like this. I don't like it on my skin. I don't feel like it looks good with my skin tone, so I'm gonna go ahead and get rid of it. I don't think I need to keep it for the sake of keeping it. Again, I'm not gonna keep things that I don't like using, and I don't like using this. And to top it off, I've used the crap out of it. So this is the cheapest bronzer in my collection, and out of the 3, it's one of the 2 most used bronzers. So I don't feel like I need to keep this. I've used it. It has served its purpose in my collection, and it doesn't need to be here anymore. We're keeping 2, getting rid of 1, and I feel pretty good about that. It does look like a place though that I could expand my collection a bit, eh? If you have any good bronzer suggestions, please let me know. All right, moving on to highlighters. Alright, so I may not have had too many blushes and bronzers, but I feel like I have a fair amount of highlights. I really, truly do enjoy highlights, probably more than those 2 other categories. I feel like I'm getting into bronzers though, which is unfortunate for someone who only has 2 bronzers, but I still love my highlights. So, alright, let's go ahead and get started. I feel pretty good about this category though. There's definitely a handful of strong contenders in here that are going to be decluttered, but let's go ahead and get some out of the way that I know I'm going to keep. First and foremost, being this big old bad boy over here. So this is the Kevyn Aucoin Neo Highlighter. I did get this sent to me a while back from Kevyn Aucoin and Octoly, and I love the crap out of this. So as you can see, I've used this side quite a bit. This is a ombre highlighter. You can kind of tell this is the more ivory highlighter, the pinky highlighter, and the more bronzy highlighter over on this side. I got it in the winter time, so I've been very pale and have only really been able to use this side, but I'm really excited to be able to use the rest of this in the summer when I get a little bit darker. This is a beautiful natural highlight, so definitely going to be keeping this. This is very unique. A lot of my other highlights are a lot stronger, so this is a really good natural highlight to have. Also, this little bad boy, this Colourpop Super Shock highlighter in the shade On the Cusp is an absolutely beautiful highlight that is from the Kathleen Lights Colourpop collaboration. It's got quite a little dent in there. Please don't mind the kitty paws. This is also in my year-long project pan, so I am going to be holding on to this, and I just really, really like it. Oh, well, all right. Yeah, go ahead. Just sit right there. 2 other ones that I'm definitely going to keep are 2 new-ish ones to my collection. It's these 2 Ofra highlighters. One of them, Pillow Talk, this one right here, I received from from Octoly and Ofra Cosmetics maybe at the end of summer last year, and loved it so much that I went and bought this one. This one is Glazed Donut. This is more of an ivory color, and then Pillow Talk is a more pinky highlighter. As you can see, these are two very strong highlights, so if you don't like very strong highlights, you might not like these, but I freaking love these. So I'm gonna hold on to these two. All right, let's move on to some things I'm going to declutter. The first thing I'm going to declutter is this little Becca highlighter. This is in the shade Opal. First and foremost, it shattered on itself and it's still continuing to shatter. I don't love this. It's a pain in the butt to use. I don't want to repress it, partly because I'm lazy, partly because I don't really like this anyways. I just feel like I have other highlighter shades in my collection that are comparable to this that I would prefer to use over this. And the packaging on this is breaking, so it's just not worth it. I'm going to get rid of it, and I feel okay with that. A couple other things I'm going to declutter. I'm going to declutter this little Vintage by Jessica Libeskind? I don't really know. This I got in a BoxyCharm so many years ago. It's in the shade Crystal Pink. I just kept saying that I was going to use it and then I never did. I don't know why I've held on to it for so long. There's so many highlighters I love. I'm not gonna hold on to it any longer. Something else I'm going to declutter. I need to declutter. Oh, you know, I feel like I just never use liquid highlighters, but I've like tried this out before on my like hand like I'm doing now, and it looks so pretty, but then I just never use it on the face. I just feel like I'm gonna get rid of both of these. I don't need them. I held on to them for so long and just keep telling myself I'm going to use them and then literally never do. So I'm gonna do it this time. I'm just gonna get rid of them. I don't need them. I'm not gonna use them. I like my powder highlights. These are gonna go goodbye. All right, we're doing pretty good. Let's move on to some things I'm going to keep. This Too Faced highlighter in the shade Love Light is probably, or is this in the shade Blinded by the Light? I think this is one of the Love Light highlighters in the shade Blinded by the Light. This is probably one of my top favorite highlighters ever. I freaking love this. It's the perfect shade for me. Oh, it's fantastic. Look at how much I've worn away on this already. Absolutely going to keep this. Also going to keep this Kaja highlighter. This is one of their Mochi Glow highlighters in the shade Toy Alien. This is still relatively new to my collection, but I really enjoy it. I got it recently and obviously going to hold on to it. Also, this little highlighter right here was gifted to me recently by a really lovely subscriber named Crystal. Thank you, Crystal. I haven't had a chance to use it yet. It's still in the box and everything. It looks darker, so it'll have to wait until the summertime when my skin is a little more pigmented before I can use it, but very excited to try this out. All right, so we got 4 highlighters left. Let's go ahead and move on to this one. So this is the Becca Jaclyn Hill Champagne Pop highlighter. This is what she looks like on the inside. As you can see, I have used it a bit. There's a little bit of a dent in there, but we're not going to hold on to this. I can like not use this highlighter. Look at how dark it is in comparison to my skin. I am like never this dark. I don't feel like I need to hold on to it anymore. And I'm probably going to keep the Becca Jaclyn Hill face palette that has Champagne Pop in it. I don't need to keep this single one if I have that one that I'm going to keep. So we're going to get rid of this. We're going to declutter it. I do not need it taking up space when I basically already, well, I don't even basically, I have it already in my collection. All right, so this one right here, my little Wet n Wild Mega Glow highlighter. I really like this. As you can see, I've hit some pan right here. This is probably, well, I don't want to say the best drugstore because I haven't tried very many drugstore highlighters, but I really love this. This is very comparable to some high-end highlighters, and I think it's just absolutely lovely. So I'm going to hold on to this. Really love this. This one right here, Mary Luminizer, is an oldie but a goodie. I also have Major Pan in this one. This is definitely one of the more subtle highlights in my collection, so I really enjoy using it, especially for the work week, for example. It is getting a little bit older in my collection, so I should probably incorporate it into some kind of project pan just to expand the pan in it. I doubt I'll ever be able to use it up because of look at how much highlighter is in here, but I do really like this, so I'm gonna hold on to it. All right, last but not least, Jeffree Star Cosmetics highlighter. This is Peach Goddess. Why on earth did I buy this? I have no idea. I don't know if I've ever actually used this on my face. I think I've only swatched it. It's just too dark for me and I don't need to keep it. I've had it for probably a year and a half, maybe more closer to 2.5 years. And I, again, maybe have worn it once on the face. So why don't I pass it along to somebody else who would love and use it more than me, because I'm not loving it. I'm not using it. I don't need to keep it. so I'm not going to. All right, so that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 products that we are decluttering. 2, 4, 7, 8, 9 products that we are keeping. I feel like that's pretty good. That's 7 and 9, so you know, getting closer to half and half. I feel really good about this. These are products that I just never touched or hated touching, if we're talking about this little one right here, but everything else I just never used. And 2 of these are full-size, very good products that I'm sure somebody will love, just not me. All of these products are things that I love pulling into my collection and using, or well, not this one because I haven't used it yet, but very excited about this. All right, y'all, here we are with my face palettes, and I don't know if I want to declutter any of these, honestly. I love the face palettes. I don't feel like I have too many, but let's go ahead and go through each of them so we can talk through it just in case there's something I'm missing. So let's go ahead and just start right here. This is a Tarte blush palette from a couple Christmases ago. It has 8 blush shades and 2 highlighters. I freaking love this. I think this is a really good formula, and I love having this selection. It's a perfect little travel palette. It's not too big. It fits, you know, in the palm of your hand. Well, kind of the palm of your hand, but I really like this. Definitely gonna keep this. Hourglass, this is a no-brainer. I love Hourglass powders. I love their blushes, their bronzers, their powders. Definitely, absolutely gonna keep this. I love using this. This little blush duo is relatively new to my collection. I think I got it during the fall VIB sale, and I really appreciate these blushes. I think that they just look so good. They're so easy to blend onto the skin, so definitely gonna hold on to this. This little Tarte Don't Be Afraid to Dazzle palette, or actually it's called the Double Duty palette. This has got a highlighter and a contour shade in it. I love traveling with this. I bring it almost every time I travel. I'm not gonna get rid of this because this is literally what I travel with every time, and I love using it. Let's move on to this right here. This is the Becca Jaclyn Hill palette. I already mentioned that I was going to be keeping it. So this is what the inside looks like. We have the blush shades up here and the 2 highlighters down here. So Prosecco Pop and Champagne Pop. I'm gonna hold on to this. You know, looking at it, I really need to use it this summer, because if I use it this summer and decide that I just don't like using it, I might end up decluttering it next time I do a declutter. But from what I can remember, I really like using these blush shades, and I like Prosecco Pop a lot more. It works a little bit better on my skin, so we'll see. But for now, I'm definitely going to keep this because I think I remember using those blush shades and really liking them. So let's move on to the Kat Von D Shade and Light palette. This is what it looks like right now. I would declutter this, but I think I'm going to incorporate these 2 shades right here into my rolling project pan when I use up the bronzer that's in there. I don't use any of these 4 shades, but I do use these 2 shades and I really like them. So I want to use these up, and once those are used up, I am going to get rid of this palette, but for now we are going to hold on to it. I could potentially depot those, but I don't want to deal with that right now. I could potentially try and do that though, and then just get rid of the other 4. I mean, see if anybody I know wants them, but that's kind of the status on this one. Let's move on to this. This is a fairly new palette to my collection. I did get it sent to me from Octoly and Morphe. It is a blush palette. It's the 8W Warm Blush palette. I really like this. I will say that you have to use a stipple brush with it. I've said this every time I've talked about this palette, but it's a brush like this with it's just got the stipple bristles on it. But with that, it works really well. I think this is going to look gorgeous in the summer too. These shades up here are shimmer shades. They might be intended to be highlight shades. I use them as blush toppers because they're way too dark for me to use as just highlighters. So I am going to hold on to this because I really do like it. So we only have 3 products left. This little highlighter set is gorgeous. I really do like this. This is by Flower Beauty. I haven't really used these 2 shades in here, but I really like this shade right here. This is the Ivory shade in this palette. I want to try and remember to use these during the summer when I'm a little bit darker, because they're just a tad too dark for me right now during the winter because I'm very pale, but I love this shade. It's so beautiful. All right, so we have these 2 palettes. All right, so let's look at the Stephen Klein NARS one. I have been using this palette a lot lately. One of the reasons for that is I want to get good use out of it so that eventually I can throw it into a project pan. I really like these blush shades down here. I've been using this creamy white shade to set my eye primer. I used to use this shade right here quite a bit, but I've noticed it pulls a little bit too red on my skin, so I stopped using it, but I have been using this bronzer shade on my face and it's been working relatively well. But really the winners in this palette are these blushes and and this creamy ivory shade. So I want to hold on to this because I've been using those quite a bit and enjoying them. So we'll see. Maybe eventually when I've used this palette more and gotten my money's worth out of it, I'll declutter it. But for now, it is working really well for me and I spent my money on it, so I'm gonna go ahead and use it. Finally, this Anastasia Glow Kit. So I was so excited when I first got this. Alex ended up getting it for me, but the problem is that these are the only two shades that work for me. These two shades I can't use as highlighters at all, duh, because this is like a bronzer shade and this is like a beautiful purple shade. I tried using this on the eye, it just doesn't work well, it doesn't look good. Really, this is intended as a highlighter. I could maybe use it on the body, but again, it's just, they're too dark for me. I don't want to use things on my body that are too dark and gonna look weird. I really like these two. What I might end up doing is depotting, because obviously you can easily depot these. That's why you have this little indent right here. So I might end up depotting these and putting them into some kind of Z palette and then passing these two ones along to a friend or something to see if they could use it. But for now, I'm gonna go ahead and hold on to it until I can do that. Or maybe I could try using these on the body this summer. I just don't think that they're gonna look good because again, they're too dark. But if you have any suggestions for using shades like this that are too dark for your face, let me know down in the comments below. All right, so that is gonna do it for my blushes, bronzers, highlighters, and face palettes. I know I didn't get rid of any face palettes, but I don't feel like I have too many, and I really enjoy the ones that I had. There were a couple in there though that with time will probably be phased out of my collection, but most of the other ones I just really love and love using. So I feel pretty good about the decluttering that I was able to do during this video. Again, if you missed my foundation, concealers, primers, and powders, I will link that down below. And then our next decluttering video will be eye products. So we've got eyeliners, mascaras, eyelashes, and I think all of my single shadows. Yes, because I don't have that many eyeliners, mascaras, or eyelashes, but I've got a fair few single eyeshadows. So we're gonna be, I think, incorporating all of those into one video, which will be up next. So if you don't want to miss that, definitely subscribe and hit that notification bell if you want to be alerted when my new declutter videos are up. If you like this video, if you like declutter videos, don't forget to give this one a thumbs up. And if you want to subscribe for more content from me, don't forget to do so before you go. All buttons are down below. And I think that's everything I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.